Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, on the right hand side, another amazing castle structure. So that one is called Reichenstein. Reich means rich, and Stein is the stone, so the rich stone castle. And if you look ahead of us, a little bit further on the right, there's another castle that's called Rheinstein. Rhine named after the Rhine River, again Stein is stone, the Rhinestone castle. So now I've got another story for you, another story of matchmaking when it comes to Rheinstein and Reichenstein castle. But the Reichenstein on the right hand side is also one of the oldest castles in the area, goes back to the 11th century. Yeah, in 1253 the castle was destroyed by the Rhenish Town Alliance because it was famous as being a hideaway for robbers. And in 1282 Rudolf repeated this action one more time. So the robber knights were executed near the chapel of St. Clemens, which we're going to see in a few moments as well. And that was only at the end of the 19th century in 1899 that the Baron of Kirchburg-Celli started to renovate the castle. So you can see that it has a mighty curtain wall flanked by two towers instead of the central keep. The wall is 8 meters thick at the top and 16 meters high. Inside is now a hotel restaurant and rooms really contain valuable furniture and also a remarkable collection of arms and plush. And for those who are not so reich, they stay, reich means rich, they stay at the rich stone castle at the Reichenstein castle up on top. Those who are not that rich or reich, they can just right below and they can there. And now to the matchmaking story that I promised you. So matchmaking at the Reichenstein and Rheinstein castle again, and take you back for a few centuries. At a time when there was a man called Sir Diethelm of Rheinstein who lived in Rheinstein Castle, the one up front, coming up, he had not the best hand for money. It somehow always slipped through his fingers, and in times when he suffered from the lack of finances, the only hope he had was actually his beautiful daughter Gerda. Her mother had died at her birth, and so she was his own everything. And when Gerda had reached married age, her father very often daydreamed of a rich groom so that he would be compensated for the loss of his beloved child. Now there was a charming young man looking perfectly and a little bit. His name was Albrecht. He was a knight and the eldest son of Sternberg. Unfortunately, Sternberg was neither blessed with wealth, but this didn't prevent Albrecht from going for Gerda. He went to his uncle Gunzelin of Reichenstein. Yeah, that was the rich guy who lived in Ridgestone Castle up on the right. That was the rich uncle that Gunzelin went to. He thought it was good if his rich uncle would ask for the hand of Gerda on his behalf. So he sent his rich uncle Gunzelin from Reichenstein just over to Rheinstein Castle to ask if Albrecht could marry beautiful Gerda. But Gunzelin, he went over for a meeting with the father, with Sir Diethelm of Rheinstein, and the two of them got along really well, and somehow Gunzelin, he found the young girl so appetizing that he asked for a marriage rather for himself than for his nephew. So the father of the girl, he was blinded by the wealth, also by the appearance of the real man, so he just agreed. And ladies and gentlemen, let's understand that, the father, for him this was a solid man, was possessions, no young Mr. Penniless or son of Sir Lackland. So the marriage was fixed for the next days in the chapel of St. Clemens, which is here on your right hand side, just between the two castles. That's the chapel of St. Clemens. And when Gerda heard about the name of your future husband, she just freaked out. Her desire was the young and good looking Albrecht, Her father tried to talk sense into her, but of course the girl was in love, yeah, and she just started to shout and scream and cry, and then she just came down to the river, where she was sitting, crying and crying and crying. The young girl was dissolved in tears. Yeah, she sat below the castle gardens by the river crying, when loads and loads of her tears just over her beautiful cheeks in the Rhine River. And a nymph heard the girl crying and crying, and she felt so sorry for her that the nymph made up a plan. So when on the wedding day, the bride and the groom rode down from the castle to the chapel, the nymph steered into a hornet's nest which was just beside the road. She sort of, steered the hornet's nest wide open. The hornets attacked immediately the belly of the poor horse of Gunzelin. The horse jumped in panic on his back feet, threw Gunzelin off the horse, and Uncle Gunzelin, he just fell down the rocky cliffs. He broke his neck. He was immediately dead. Now Gerda, ladies and gentlemen, she was much luckier because she was saved by young Halbrecht, who was hiding, just right there, who was of course taking her safely into his arms. And the story goes that 1 week later, Gerda from Rheinstein and her savior, they stood together in front of the altar at the same chapel of St. Clemens, the white and red chapel that we just passed by. And the story goes they had a long, happy marriage and life, and they were also put to rest in the same chapel eventually. So a happy end for Gerda. She finally could marry the young handsome guy she was in love with, beautiful Helmbrecht, and as the uncle died, the nephew also inherited all the money, so in the end he was not only good looking but also a rich husband for her. Big Burgunder, which means excellent red wine. The only red wine area in Paris, so we have here in the region on the left hand side. Assmannshausen was also one of the oldest inns in Germany. It's now Corona. It was already in the 14th century that people could stay overnight in a place where they put the horse carriage, stable, or the horse, everything taken care of. You can stay in that lovely inn. It's a beautiful half-covered structure which we're going to see soon. There's a tiny part construction these houses. And reminds us a bit of slave work and movies. No bridges in this most beautiful part, because this is UNESCO World Heritage Landscape. We don't want it moving for another bridge construction. Sailing on to. And also here, lots of winters, lots of winemakers, lots of nice bed and breakfasts. By the way, the German word for bed and breakfast is Pension, Pension. If the pension has rooms available, they put a flag outside, a red and white flag, and to write on it Zimmer frei. Zimmer frei means rooms available.